asked how I draw all the weird shiny stuff that I do. So I figured maybe I'll try this video thing and show you. And honestly, a lot of the time it's just farting around with layer styles. So to start with, I'm just gonna make like a gradient, I suppose. Boop. Why is it reversed? Because I have reverse checked, that's probably why. I'm a Photoshop wizard, I know what I'm doing. So we're gonna start with that, but that's just kind of boring. Like if we're making a night sky, well the night sky is not ever just blue or black, it's got other colors too sometimes. So I'm just gonna take a really big brush and sort of scribble some other colors around. Sort of, yeah. What else? What do you think? Maybe some of this? I don't know. I make it up as I go along, basically. We're gonna go blur. Blur the shit out of it. Yeah, that's looking more interesting. And then this little bar here. This is the secret to the magic. Depending on what you pick here, you can make things do crazy stuff. The ones I usually use, it's either just normal, multiply, which is when it takes the layer, it darkens things. So this is really useful for shading. Screen will, it's kind of hard to explain what screen does. I'll show you what that does a bit later. Linear dodge add will lighten colors. Overlay doesn't work so well in this color context, although I use it a lot for other things. Basically just play around with these and see what happens. That's a really good way to learn how to do things. For now though, we're just gonna go with, I think we're just gonna stick to, I don't know, I could change my mind later, but for now I think we will go with screen. Why not? Okay. So we have a background, and you don't ever just want a flat color. That's boring. And then we get to add the fun stuff. So a really easy thing to add is stars. In fact, it's so stupidly easy. You start with black. You start a new layer. On normal mode. Black. No filter. Noise. Add noise. About 33, 40-ish. Okay. And this won't look like much until you zoom in. Okay, we have spots. Then we can go image adjustments levels and take this guy and slide him over here. Alright, that looks more like stars. However, they're still very small. So now we just pick apart, usually this corner for me for some reason, I don't know, you can choose anywhere. Command T to free transform. Hold shift while you drag. And now we have stars. Now this is where the screen mode comes in. What screen does is basically makes black invisible. There you go. That's a really easy way to add stars. Some other pretty easy stuff I do is brushes. I have some star brushes that I made. I can make a video on how to make brushes if people want to know how to do that. And then play with the brush. I'm not sure what you would call this. Brush properties? Brush dynamics? Brush magic? I don't know. So brush tip shape. You can change the spacing. You can turn it. If you hold shift, it'll snap to angles. You can flip X or flip Y, but this is symmetrical, so that won't matter. Shape dynamics is the other fun one. Size jitter. Angle jitter. Roundness jitter. I don't like that too much. You can also control what controls this, so I usually have it on pen pressure. Scattering. Scatter that out. Okay. And working on a new layer. I use a lot of layers. That's just how I do. And just kind of scribble around. Get some pretty stars. And then another thing I like to play with is layer properties. And the way you do that is you double click on a layer. Layer style. You can do all sorts of fun stuff. But for stars, I usually use outer glow. Yeah. And you can mess with this too, like you can make this screen or overlay or multiply or whatever, so it doesn't necessarily have to be like a glow. You could make a shadow with this. We could go like this, and then make that black. And then turn that up. So you can make things stand out. You can drop shadows or glows. One thing about multiply is white does not show up. Multiply is the opposite of screen. I think. That might not be how the technical case. But white does not show up on multiply. Because what you're doing is you're darkening the color by whatever you're putting down. And white, it's not dark. It won't show up. So I'm going to go with screen for now. You can play with this. Basically, I encourage you to go play with everything. Remember, you can always undo stuff if you screw up. So that's how you can make some stars. If you want to do just some general background funky junk, here I'll show you. A really easy thing to do is just to go make a new document, get the polygon lasso tool, just make some sort of shape like that, fill it in solid black, and then you go edit, define brush preset. That'll make a nice brush. This is now a brush. And I'm gonna go play with the tip shape some more. Let's get some jitter, roundness jitter, back supply. Really mix it up here. Build axes. I don't know. All that. And then you just scribble around. And then set that to overlay. It might look better if we do some blurring. So we could do oops, not a box blur. Gaussian blur. That's usually my favorite type of blur, just because it's so okay. Not that much blur. Oh, that looks interesting. And the more layers you add, usually the more interesting things get. Like I'll add another one. I'll make the brush a bit smaller. Just more scribbles. I do a lot of scribbling and a lot of blurring, a lot of scribbling, a lot of playing with the stuff over here. Motion blur can be interesting. Ooh, that looks dynamic. And you can do the same with white. White, it'll add an interesting effect. In fact, one thing you can do that looks pretty nice is you just take a normal round brush, put some size jitter and some scattering on there, and space it out. Okay, and then just kind of dot it around, and then again go overlay, and then filter blur, just a little bit of Gaussian blur, you don't need very much. And again, you just overlap several different layers. And you can make some really cool, shiny, shimmery stuff. That's about all there is. You just play around with stuff and see what you like. Yeah. I didn't show you how to do a couple other things that I do sometimes. One of the filters I often use is filter render clouds, just with the default black and white. And then filter render difference clouds, and then you just mash difference clouds over and over again, and it starts looking really cool. Kind of like that. So that's a texture I often use. Like I could select all. I have this on a new document, but just to show you, I could go put it over here, put it on overlay, do some cool stuff with that, add some, make sort of nebula effect. Another thing you can do with it is it's a good starting point for other texture-y things. Like you could go filter, pixelate, do all sorts of fun stuff. Mosaic will turn into pixels. And then from here, this is kind of cool, you can go filter, stylize, find edges. It'll do this. And get you a kind of cool pixely texture. And then if you go Command I, it'll invert. Copy, paste. Then we can set this to, oops, that's color dodge, I meant screen. It will make an interesting thing. Another thing you can do is if you have an image like this, you can select only the white pixels by going Channels, RGB, and then holding Control or Command on a Mac and clicking. And this will select all the white pixels. So then you can go back over here. No, we can't. I'm a dork. What I was trying to show you is that then you can fill just those pixels. So if we want like purple, you can't hardly see that, but it is purple. And this is now a transparent layer. So anywhere that is not purple is actually transparent here. So you can do this with all sorts of different stuff. You could do that with the cloud layer that I made earlier. We could totally do that. Channels, just the clouds. So if I wanted, I could make black clouds. And then do weird stuff with that. I don't know. Again, mostly just play with stuff. Oops. Why's that? Because I turned it off of overlay, that's why. Haha. Again, that's how I learned Photoshop. I basically just played with things, figured stuff out. Another thing you can use the whole going channels, copy that, is fire. If you have a picture of fire, and you go channels, and usually the red channel will have the most contrast, and you copy that, it'll copy just the flames, and then you can fill that in any color you want. So you want blue fire, make blue fire. It's really kind of cool. Anyway, that's about